Hello fellow gaijins! Welcome back to the Japanese Basics for Beginners series. In today's episode 10, we will look at a lot of past tense shenanigans, which is very similar to everything we've had before, so it's not too much to remember, but it's super important if you want to talk in informal form with your friends or family members and so on. But before we jump into all that grammar, let's first look at the last 11 hiragana, I believe, that we have not learned yet. Again, handakuten, dakuten, and pronunciations are exactly the same as with katakana. The vocabulary for today is mata, mata, 大きい大きい必要必要動物動物自分自分写真写真友達友達あんまりあんまり音音音楽音楽取る取る狭い狭い広い広いものものことこと上上下下 Two things that I want to touch on real quick is the amari, which sometimes is pronounced as anmari with an N in between the A and the M, but it's really slight, so I overpronounced it just now, so it's more like a ammari, ammari. But I don't think that everybody does this, but a lot of people I know do this, and I myself do this too all the time, but I think in the dictionary it's amari. I went on Jisho, the dictionary I usually use on the internet, and I typed in anmari with the N, and it still showed amari as a result for it. So I think it's actually quite common practice to pronounce it like that. The other thing I want to talk about is the difference between mono and koto. Both of them kind of mean thing, but they're used in two different contexts. Mono is always a physical thing, so something that you can touch. That is a material, you know, like an object or something. Koto, on the other hand, is usually not physical. It can be physical, but it's usually theoretical. So the topic you're talking about, for example. Let's make example sentences. The example sentence I have for mono is あれは何のものですか? What kind of thing is that over there? So this is really referring to the object itself. So what kind of object is it? It's not talking about anything that is non-physical. If I go to a group of people and I ask them, what kind of thing or topic are you guys talking about? So in this sentence, I don't mean a physical thing necessarily, but it can also just mean something that they're talking about in theory. So for example, they're talking about their free time, salary, hobbies, all that stuff. For things like these, mono can usually not be used. This was everything in terms of vocabulary I wanted to introduce today, so let's get into kanji. So I did a poll and asked you guys if you want to see no kanji at all, 2 or 3 per episode, or a lot more in this series, and an overwhelming amount of you just said you want to see 2 or 3 per episode. So today I have 3 new kanji for you guys. Ue, shita, and iku. As always, stroke orders are in the description below. Now that we covered all of this, let's get into the grammar. For me, today's grammar is super exciting because we're slowly starting to get into harder stuff. Because if you learn this grammar from today, you can actually start really learning intermediate stuff, I think. In a few episodes, we will introduce single intermediate grammar structures that I think are super important, that you probably usually wouldn't really learn as a complete beginner, but I think you guys are not complete beginners anymore, so I can start introducing harder stuff soon. The first thing I want to talk about are informal negative verbs. Today we will very heavily focus on informal stuff that has to do with past and negative forms. Let's first start with the eru, iru verbs. We already discussed negative forms of adjectives in informal form. For example, we had atarashiku nai. This just means not new. Now the thing is, verbs actually function very similarly and they even look similar. So atarashiku nai is a negative e adjective. For an iru eru verb, let's take taberu as always as our example, it becomes tabenai. So you just take the stem, which is tabe, and you add nai at the end. As always, this is the same for all iru and eru verbs. For the rest of the verbs, again, it's a little bit stranger because you have to change something. If the verb doesn't end on a standalone u, it's always the same. You take the last hiragana of the word. So if it's iku, for example, you take the ku and you change it into the a counterpart. So iku becomes ika, and then you add a nai at the end. Iku becomes ikanai. Toru becomes toranai. So the ru becomes a ra. It's the same for all of them besides the ones that end on the u. So the ones that end on u are a little bit special because the u changes into a wa. So for example, kau becomes kawanai. So you take away the u, add a wa, and then nai at the end. Kawanai. Kawanai. Another verb that you probably don't know yet is arau. It also ends on a u, a standalone u, and it means to wash something. Arau becomes arawanai. Arawanai. Again, the u is replaced by a wa, and you add a nai at the end. Three exceptions are kuru, suru, and aru. Suru becomes shinai. Kuru becomes konai, and aru is just nai. Aru is a very, very special case and you just have to remember it, but you will use it all the time because it's one of the most used Japanese verbs. So yeah, you'll see it all the time. Just remember, if you see nai somewhere, a standalone nai, it is very, very, very probable that it is the negative form of aru. I want to make one more example that sometimes can be a little bit confusing, and that is a verb that ends on the tsu. I don't remember if we had this word, but it's tatsu. I think I talked about it in another video and used it as an example. I will put it in the next episode as vocabulary if I didn't do this already, but tatsu means to stand. Tatsu becomes tatanai. The tsu is in the ta, te, chi, to, tsu family, right, of hiragana and katakana. So the tsu becomes a ta. Just don't be confused by the tsu because it is basically just a normal hiragana and it does have an a equivalent, which is ta. I just wanted to mention this because I was always confused about the tsu thing and how it works. Now let's talk about the past negative informal verb tense. We did talk about it for adjectives and it was like this. We had atarashiku nai, which became atarashiku nakatta. So we took away the e and add katta. Now you will see this pattern a lot. You take away the e and you add kata to make it past tense in informal form. This happens also with verbs and with other things, and we will talk about those other things in a few minutes. But yeah, as I said, it's exactly the same as with the adjectives. You have, for example, tabenai. You take away the I and you add kata. It becomes tabenakatta. That just means I didn't eat. Tabenakatta. So if you take ikanai, which is the negative informal form of iku, it becomes ikanakatta. I didn't go. This works the same for all the verbs. So if you have shinai, it becomes shinakatta. If you have konai, it becomes konakatta. And nai just becomes nakatta. Now the next topic is something I myself consider one of my favorite Japanese grammar topics. It's definitely my favorite conjugations for verbs because it's just so useful. Most people would just call it the te form. I think if you have mastered the past informal tense of verbs, you will master this in 1 minute. The te form is the imperative form. So it means that you can give commands to people or ask people to do something for you. For example, tabete. Now as you can see, it is very similar to tabeta, which is the past informal form of taberu. So if you want to form the imperative verb form of a iru eru verb, you can just take the verb itself in past informal tense and then take the ta and turn it into a te. It works exactly like this for all the iru eru verbs. So tabeta becomes tabete. Iru, which is ita, becomes ite. And it's always the same. If we look at the rest of the verbs, it's also just so easy. You just take the past informal form as we just did with the eru verbs and you just turn the A into an E sound. So for example, kau. Kau is kata in the past form, right? So kata becomes katte. If we look at kaeru, which is kaeta, it becomes kaete. Let's look at tatsu. We just had this as an example before. So the informal past tense of tatsu is tatta, right? So you just take the ta and you turn it into a te. If you want to say stand, like I command, you just say tatte. Motsu, you know that word. In past tense is mot. Oh, now I just found a word that ends on tsu. I should have used that one I didn't think about it before, so you now know the word tatsu. Anyway, if you look at motsu, which means to hold or to have, in past tense it's motta, and in the te form it's motte. If you want to say hold this real quick to anybody, you can just say motte, and they will hold it for you. So sunda is one of the more special verb conjugations in the Japanese language, and it's exactly the same as with the rest. You just take the A sound and you change it with an E sound. So sunda becomes sunde. If you want to say live here, you just say koko ni sunde. Remember, sumu always uses the particle ni. Now if we look at suru and kuru, which are usually always exceptions, they are also really easy because they are not exceptions this time. The word suru becomes shita in the past tense, and in the te form it's just shite. So do. Kuru becomes kita in past tense, and as a te form it's kite. So come here, kite, koko ni kite, kite. Please learn those forms well, because in the next episode we will talk about probably the most important grammar that you will ever learn, and probably use the most in your life if you talk Japanese to anybody. But anyway, for this episode we are done with it, so let's jump into the next grammar. Another thing that I kind of forgot to talk about is the negative form of des in informal form. We only looked at ja arimasen, which is very polite. But if you want to say this in a more informal way, you can just use janai. So arimasen is the negative form of aru, right? But it is in formal form. So if you just take the informal negative form of aru, which we just learned is nai, it becomes janai. Now, if I would have introduced this earlier, which I didn't, you probably wouldn't really have understood this difference. But now that you know that nai is the informal form of aru, you can probably understand this difference much better and also apply it in a more meaningful way. So let's make an example sentence. Watashi no inu wa soba ga suki janai. My dog doesn't like soba, which is a lie, by the way. If we want to use this in past form, again, take away the I and add a kata. So, janakatta. As you can see, there is kind of a pattern here in Japanese when you have like informal verb forms that end on an I, because if you want to put them into the past form, you just take away the I and add a kata. This works for adjectives, verbs, probably 100% of the time, because I've never seen a form where this doesn't work, or I just can't think of any right now where this wouldn't work. This is just a really good rule of thumb if you're talking freely and you want to make something past tense while you're talking informally. One thing I want to talk about that has nothing to do with grammar is a good idea I had a few days ago while I was thinking about what I should do next. From now on, I will try to pose a little challenge to you, and I want you to use the hiragana, the words, and the grammar we learned up till now to kind of translate a sentence I give you. I give the sentence in English, of course, and you can just go down to the comments, not look at the top comments, and just write into the comment box what you would translate the sentence I give you as in Japanese. And then I will respond to you and correct you if you have any mistakes, and maybe give you tips on how you can learn stuff better or use stuff in another way so that you can just improve your usage, because up till now we've only talked about theoretical stuff, but we've never talked about the conversational aspect of practicing. The next episode will probably also be a very practical lesson. So we might look at some manga that I bought here, or we might look at an excerpt from a news outlet or something for kids, for example, and just look through it, because now we finally finished with hiragana, katakana, and we can really just relax now and just look at good example sentences for the grammar we have, and also for practice stuff that we want to do in the future. I'm really looking forward to what's in store for us with this series, and yeah, I'm just really excited. So here's the English sentence I have for you today. So just translate this and put it into the comments if you have time. Don't peek at other comments though. Just use the grammar that you know to your best capacity and just try to translate it on your own. I think that's the best way to learn anyway. Mistakes are not a bad thing, remember this. Mistakes are the best things you can make. I always make mistakes and my girlfriend corrects me and then I learn from it. Anyway, enough rambling for me. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate all the support that you guys have given me and this series. It really helps. We have reached 2,000 subscribers now. I'm super excited and I want to thank you again, just so that we can kind of rejoice together. If you like this video, as always, throw your shurikens all over the like button. If you haven't clicked that bell, you can click it if you want to. I don't force you. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next one. Mata ne.